happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius didn't say this as a motivational quote for comfort. He wrote it as a hard truth about how life actually works. Because no matter what the world throws at you, no matter how chaotic the environment becomes, the final authority over your peace, your calm, and your happiness still lives inside your mind. In a world that constantly tells you what to feel, how to think, who to be, and what success should look like, imagine possessing the power to remain steady, grounded, and unshaken, regardless of the storm around you. That isn't just strength. That's freedom. Stoicism was never about escaping life. It was about mastering it from the inside out. It teaches resilience without bitterness, gratitude without ignorance, and fulfillment without dependency on external validation. This isn't a history lesson meant to impress you with ancient names. This is about you, your mornings, your thoughts, your reactions, your life today. It's about facing the modern world's noise without losing your center, about finding calm where others panic, about discovering happiness not in excess but in simplicity, about turning your mornings from something you rush through into something that launches your entire day with intention, clarity, and quiet power. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by information, expectations, or pressure, if you've ever struggled to sit in silence without reaching for distraction, if you've ever wondered how ancient wisdom could still apply in a world of notifications, deadlines, and constant stimulation, then stay here. Because this isn't about escaping reality, it's about learning how to move through it without being consumed by it. Stoicism doesn't promise an easy life. It promises a strong mind. And that strength begins the moment you wake up. The way you start your day isn't just routine, it's philosophy in action. If you're still listening, understand this. Most people don't seek depth. They seek comfort. The fact that you're here tells me you're different. You're someone who wants mastery, not motivation, wisdom, not noise. And that choice alone already sets you apart. There's a concept from Japan that aligns perfectly with Stoic thinking, not as a trend, not as a buzzword, but as a lived principle. It's the idea of discovering the point where what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what sustains you financially all meet. That place gives your life direction. It gives your mornings meaning. Marcus Aurelius believed deeply that every human being has a role to play. Not for applause, but for contribution. He didn't wake up asking what the world owed him. He woke up asking how he could fulfill his role with integrity. Purpose in Stoicism isn't found. It's practiced daily. And when your actions align with that deeper purpose, even ordinary tasks stop feeling empty. You stop dragging yourself through the day. You start moving with direction. Purpose doesn't appear overnight. It reveals itself through reflection, honesty, and patience. Asking yourself difficult questions. Sitting with uncertainty without rushing for answers. And as you align your actions with what truly matters, something shifts. Your mornings stop feeling heavy. Your mind becomes quieter. Your focus sharper. Happiness becomes less fleeting, less dependent on outcomes. This is what Stoicism offers. Not pleasure, but peace. Not excitement, but stability. And stability is what allows joy to last. The Stoics understood something modern life constantly makes us forget. The quality of your day is decided before the day even begins. How you spend your evening shapes your morning, and how you start your morning shapes your life. Scrolling endlessly at night doesn't relax your mind, it fragments it. Stoicism isn't about restriction for suffering's sake. It's about choosing what serves you. Preparing for rest is an act of respect toward your future self. A calm night creates a focused morning. A focused morning creates a controlled day. Control doesn't mean rigidity, it means awareness. Choosing when to engage. Choosing when to step back. Choosing intention over impulse. Imagine waking up without immediately handing your attention to the digital world. No alerts, no headlines, no comparison. Just stillness. Just breath. Just presence. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up reacting to chaos. He prepared himself to meet it. He trained his mind before the world could train it for him. And that practice is more relevant now than ever. Attention is your most valuable resource. Where you place it determines the quality of your life. When you protect your mornings, you protect your mind. Waking up at the same time every day isn't discipline for discipline's sake. It's a declaration of self-respect. It's saying, I decide how my day begins. Consistency builds trust with yourself, and trust is the foundation of confidence. Some mornings will be harder than others. Stoicism doesn't deny that. It asks you to rise anyway, not through force, but through purpose. Each morning you keep your word to yourself. You strengthen your character. And character is what carries you when motivation fades. And when you fail, because you will, Stoicism doesn't ask you to punish yourself. It asks you to learn, reset, and continue. Self-compassion isn't weakness. It's intelligence. Growth isn't linear. It's built through patience, forgiveness, and persistence. Every morning is a new chance to practice virtue, not perfection. Presence. Stoicism reminds us again and again that real power is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't rush. It doesn't react impulsively. It observes, it chooses, and then it acts with intention. This is why the Stoics place so much importance on the small, almost invisible actions that shape our days. Because character isn't built in dramatic moments. It's built in repetition, in how you rise, in how you prepare yourself mentally before the world makes its demands. When you choose to wake up with intention, you're not just getting out of bed, you're practicing self-mastery. You're training your mind to lead instead of follow, to act instead of react. Consistency, though simple in theory, tests us deeply in practice. Your mind will bargain. Your body will resist. Comfort will whisper that you can start tomorrow. And this is where Stoicism becomes practical rather than philosophical. The Stoics didn't wait for motivation. They relied on commitment. They understood that feelings change, but principles don't. Waking up at the same time every morning is not about forcing productivity. It's about creating reliability within yourself. When you become someone who keeps promises to themselves, your confidence stops being dependent on external approval. It becomes internal, stable, unshakable. And yet, Stoicism is never cruel. It doesn't ask you to be harsh with yourself. It asks you to be honest. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not for the public, but for himself. As reminders, not accusations. He understood that the human mind wanders, resists, avoids discomfort, and instead of punishing himself for that, he gently redirected himself back to what mattered. This is an essential lesson. When you fall off your routine, when you oversleep, when you lose focus, the task isn't self-judgment. The task is return. Return to awareness. Return to intention. Return to the next right action. Small acts of discipline carry immense weight. Something as simple as placing your alarm across the room isn't about physical movement. It's symbolic. It's a decision made in advance to choose awareness over comfort, to stand up instead of sinking deeper into ease. Making your bed, clearing your space, preparing your environment, these are not trivial acts. They are messages you send to yourself. They say, my life matters. My space matters. My time matters. The Stoics believed that order in the external world supports order in the internal one. When you respect your surroundings, you reinforce self-respect. Discipline isn't about control for control's sake. It's about readiness. A disciplined mind doesn't panic when plans change. It adapts. It doesn't collapse under pressure. It responds calmly. These small rituals in the morning are training grounds. They prepare you for larger challenges. If you can choose intention over impulse in the quiet of the morning, you're far more likely to do so when life tests you later in the day. And still, no one is meant to walk this path entirely alone. The Stoics valued community deeply. Not shallow connection, but meaningful relationships grounded in honesty and shared growth. Accountability isn't about pressure. It's about perspective. When you share your commitments with someone who understands your values, your goals become more real, more anchored. An accountability partner doesn't control you. They remind you of who you said you wanted to be. They reflect your intentions back to you when your resolve wavers. Growth accelerates when it's witnessed. When someone else knows your intentions, your actions carry more weight. This isn't dependence, it's collaboration. The Stoics believed wisdom multiplies when shared. That character is refined through dialogue, reflection, and mutual encouragement. Having someone to check in with, someone who walks a similar path, turns discipline from isolation into connection. And connection strengthens resolve. But even deeper than discipline and accountability lies the Stoic awareness of impermanence, not as something morbid, but as something clarifying. Remembering that time is limited sharpens focus. It strips away trivial worries. It reminds you that each morning is not guaranteed. It is offered, and how you use it matters. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on mortality, not to instill fear, but to awaken urgency. A quiet urgency. One that says, live, don't postpone presence. Don't delay becoming who you're capable of being. When you wake up with this awareness, your priorities shift. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You become more selective with your attention, more intentional with your actions. The morning becomes sacred not because it's early, but because it's yours. A space untouched by expectation. A moment to align yourself before stepping into the world. Stoicism teaches us that peace is not found by escaping responsibility, but by meeting it with clarity. And that clarity begins in stillness, in reflection, in choosing how you want to show up. Not just today, but consistently. The morning is your first chance to practice that choice, to decide who leads, impulse or intention, distraction or discipline, fear or focus. The Stoics understood something that modern life often hides from us. Clarity is not loud, and peace is not passive. Real calm is earned. It comes from knowing what is within your control and releasing your grip on everything that is not. Each morning, before the world speaks to you, you are given a brief window of sovereignty, a moment where nothing is demanded yet. That moment is powerful. And what you do with it determines the tone of everything that follows. When you learn to sit in that quiet without reaching for distraction, without needing stimulation, you begin to train the most valuable skill of all, presence. Presence is not empty. It's alert. It's grounded. It's the ability to witness your thoughts without being ruled by them. Stoicism never asked you to eliminate emotion. It taught you how not to be enslaved by it. Anger, fear, anxiety, these are natural signals, not commands. The disciplined mind observes them, acknowledges them, and then chooses a response aligned with reason and values. This is why Stoics emphasized morning reflection. Before the noise begins, you remind yourself of who you are, what matters, and how you intend to act, regardless of what the day brings. Marcus Aurelius often prepared himself for difficulty before it arrived, not with dread, but with acceptance. He reminded himself that he would encounter selfishness, ignorance, impatience, and resistance, and that none of these things could harm his character unless he allowed them to. This mental preparation didn't make him cold. It made him compassionate without being weak, calm without being passive, strong without being aggressive. When you begin your mornings with this mindset, you stop being surprised by difficulty. You stop taking resistance personally. You move through challenges with steadiness instead of emotional exhaustion. And then there is the Stoic understanding of happiness, perhaps the most misunderstood part of the philosophy. Happiness was never defined as pleasure or comfort. It was defined as living in alignment with virtue, acting with wisdom, courage, discipline, and justice. Happiness, in this sense, is a byproduct, not something chased, but something earned. When your actions reflect your values, peace follows naturally. You don't need constant validation. You don't need applause. You feel internally settled. This is why the Stoics place such importance on simplicity, not minimalism as an aesthetic, but clarity as a way of life. Removing excess creates space. Space to think, space to breathe, space to choose intentionally. A simple morning routine, waking consistently, reflecting briefly, preparing your environment does more for your mental clarity than hours of chaotic productivity. It reminds you that you don't need more to be fulfilled. You need alignment. Mortality once again becomes a teacher here, not as fear, but as perspective. When you remember that your time is limited, your tolerance for nonsense decreases. You stop postponing what matters. You stop numbing yourself with distractions that leave you empty. Each morning becomes a quiet reminder. You are alive today. You are here now. Use it well. The Stoics didn't wait for the perfect moment. They acted where they stood, with what they had. Over time, this practice reshapes you. You become slower to anger, quicker to reflect, less reactive, more deliberate. You don't waste energy on things outside your control. You don't argue with reality. You meet it as it is and decide how to move forward with integrity. This is inner freedom, not the absence of struggle, but the presence of self-command. And as days turn into weeks and weeks into years, you begin to realize something profound. The world didn't change nearly as much as you did. The chaos is still there. The noise still exists. The pressure hasn't disappeared, but it no longer owns you. You've built a center that remains steady regardless of circumstances. That is Stoic strength. Quiet, durable, earned. So when tomorrow morning arrives, remember this. You don't need motivation. You need clarity. You don't need control over everything. You need mastery over yourself. Wake up with intention. Sit in stillness. Choose your response before the world chooses for you. Practice virtue in small moments and understand that every calm morning is not just a routine. It's a declaration. A declaration that your mind belongs to you, that your time matters, that your life is something you actively shape one deliberate morning at a time.